53 years, that is how long human beings went without leaving low Earth orbit. Not once. Not a single person broke free from the thin shell of space just above our planet. That silence ended when a rocket punched through the Florida sky and aimed itself at the moon. 4 astronauts are now doing something no living person has ever done, flying in deep space. Start with where the crew is living. The Apollo command module gave 3 astronauts about 210 cubic feet of space. That is roughly the size of a large closet. 3 grown adults, sealed inside, for up to 2 weeks. Orion gives 4 people 330 cubic feet, nearly 60% more room. Still tight, but the difference matters enormously. When you are 250,000 miles from the nearest hospital, an extra few square feet can mean everything. Orion also has a dedicated hygiene bay, with doors that actually close. There is a functioning toilet. The Apollo crews used adhesive bags taped to their bodies, used in front of each other, stored in the cabin. Nearly every Apollo astronaut who has spoken candidly calls it one of the worst parts of the entire experience. The current crew will never know that particular hardship. Honestly, that alone might be worth 53 years of waiting. Apollo astronauts did not exercise in space. There was no room, no equipment, and NASA considered it acceptable. The current crew exercises every single day except launch and landing for 30 minutes using a device called a flywheel. It weighs about 30 pounds and fits in the space of a carry-on suitcase, but it provides up to 400 pounds of resistance. You can row on it, squat on it, deadlift on it, in zero gravity, on the way to the moon. Apollo crews came home so weak some of them could barely stand. That was considered the cost of exploration. Today's crew is doing strength training in deep space. That sentence would have sounded like science fiction in 1972. The rocket that carried this crew off the launch pad produces 8.8 million pounds of thrust at liftoff. The Saturn V, which carried the Apollo crews, produced 7.5 million. This new vehicle is 17% more powerful. But the real difference is what sits on top. Apollo was powered entirely by fuel cells and batteries. Every watt the crew used came from a tank that was getting emptier by the hour. The clock was always ticking. Orion unfurls for solar array wings after reaching space. As long as sunlight is available, power regenerates itself. This shifts the psychology of the mission. The crew still manages oxygen and water, but electrical margin is fundamentally different. Systems can run longer, harder, with more redundancy. The spacecraft breathes easier because the sun keeps feeding it. Apollo was an American project from the rivets upward. Every bolt, every component, every crew member, American. This mission is different by design. The service module keeping the crew alive was built by Airbus in Europe. It was provided by the European Space Agency as part of a partnership that crosses borders and space agencies. One crew member is Canadian, the first non-American citizen ever to fly beyond low Earth orbit. His seat exists because of a treaty signed between the United States and Canada that formalized shared exploration. The era of one nation going to the moon alone ended in 1972. What replaced it is messier, slower, and more shared. The cost, the knowledge, and the risk are distributed. That makes the whole endeavor more sustainable. Orion's flight computers are roughly 20,000 times faster than the ones that guided Apollo to the moon. Apollo's guidance computer had about 72 kilobytes of memory and could run 40,000 instructions per second. A modern smartwatch embarrasses it. Orion runs for independent computers in parallel, each about 400 times faster than the space shuttle. The cockpit is entirely digital. Glass screens, software interfaces, real-time trajectory adjustments at a touch. Apollo's cockpit was analog dials and physical switches. Mission control in Houston made most critical decisions. Orion can fly itself. It proved this on its first uncrewed mission, completing a full lunar trip autonomously. Today's crew has been performing manual piloting tests in deep space, physically flying the spacecraft through open space. Apollo astronauts flew manually during docking and landing. They never steered the command module through open space the way this crew just did. Apollo talked to Earth using radio waves, essentially the same technology as an AM radio station, pointed at the moon. It worked, but the audio was scratchy, bandwidth was narrow, and sending a single photograph could take minutes. Orion carries that same radio as a backup, but its primary system for sending data is something entirely different. Laser communication uses infrared light to transmit information at speeds that would have seemed impossible in the Apollo era. By day 4 of the mission, The system had already sent 100 gigabytes of data back to Earth, including high-resolution photographs. Apollo's total data return from an entire mission was measured in megabytes. This crew is streaming imagery from deep space in near real time. When the crew looks back at Earth through Orion's windows and the image appears on screens around the world within hours, that is light, not radio. Every Apollo mission flew about 70 miles above the lunar surface at its closest point, close enough to see individual craters. This mission flies much farther out on its arc, but what that changes is remarkable. The crew sees something Apollo never could. Instead of a narrow strip of terrain below them, they see the entire disk of the moon at once, pole to pole, filling their windows. No Apollo astronaut at closest approach ever had that view, an entire world hanging in front of them like a lit lantern. And because of the geometry of this trajectory, the crew can see the Orientale basin, a massive impact crater on the moon's far side. Robotic spacecraft have photographed it, orbital instruments have mapped it, but no human eye has ever looked at it directly until now. For the first time, a person looked at a feature of the moon and saw something that only machines had seen before. There is also a solar eclipse on this mission, but not the kind you see from Earth. This one happens when Earth itself slides between the spacecraft and the Sun, as seen from behind the moon. It lasts approximately 53 minutes. No Apollo crew experienced anything like it. The geometry never aligned. Imagine watching your home planet, a thin blue crescent, slowly move in front of the Sun while you float in silence. Floating behind the moon, 250,000 miles from home, watching Earth become the object that blocks the light. The crew commander described the views so far as something no amount of training could have prepared him for. He said you could see the entire globe from pole to pole, Africa, Europe, even traces of the northern lights from deep space. This mission will also break the record for the farthest distance any human has ever traveled from Earth. That record has stood for 56 years, set by the Apollo 13 crew, not by choice, but by catastrophe. Their emergency trajectory after an oxygen tank explosion carried them about 248,655 miles from home. This mission is expected to reach approximately 252,757 miles, about 4,100 miles farther. Apollo 13 set that record because something went catastrophically wrong. This mission breaks it by design. The free return trajectory, once an emergency plan used to bring a crippled crew home, is now the standard flight path. What was once a last resort is now the architecture. That says something remarkable about how much has been learned. Coming home will be the most dangerous part. When Orion hits Earth's atmosphere, it will be traveling at about 25,000 miles per hour. That is faster than any crewed spacecraft has ever re-entered. Faster than Apollo, faster than the space shuttle. The heat shield will endure temperatures approaching 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit as plasma wraps around the capsule. For several minutes, all communication is lost. The crew is completely alone. No signal from Earth can reach them. That heat shield carries its own complicated history. After the first uncrewed mission in 2022, engineers found unexpected damage. Portions of the protective material had charred and flaked in ways computer models did not predict. The structure held, temperatures inside stayed within limits, but the questions were serious enough to delay the crewed flight. The crew knows this, they accepted the risk. Every astronaut who has ever flown has accepted some version of that bargain. The crew itself represents something Apollo never did. One crew member is the first person of color to travel beyond low Earth orbit. Another is the first woman. The third is the first non-American citizen to fly this far from Earth. Apollo was exclusively American, exclusively white, exclusively male, not by explicit policy, but by the shape of the pipeline that produced military test pilots in the 1960s. That pipeline was itself exclusionary. The program reflected the era that built it. This mission does not erase that history. Nothing can. But the first humans to see the moon up close in half a century look more like humanity itself. That matters. Not as symbolism for its own sake, but because exploration belongs to the species, not a subset of it. There is also a quieter experiment running inside the cabin. The crew is being monitored more carefully than any Apollo astronaut ever was. Radiation dosimeters, sleep pattern tracking, cardiovascular data, all recorded to understand what deep space does to a human body. In low Earth orbit, Earth's magnetic field deflects most dangerous particles. The International Space Station stays safely below the Van Allen belts. Every crewed mission since Apollo 17 has stayed below those belts. This crew punches through both on the way out and again on the way home. Apollo astronauts did the same, but the monitoring was primitive by today's standards. Some reported seeing flashes of light with their eyes closed, cosmic rays striking the retina directly. We know more about what causes those flashes now. We know the risks are real and cumulative. The data from this mission will shape crew selection and mission limits for every deep space program for decades to come. 4 people are in deep space right now. That is the most humans beyond low Earth orbit simultaneously in all of human history. They are eating rehydrated meals from a warmer the size of a briefcase. They are sleeping in bags attached to the walls. They are exercising on a 30-pound flywheel and looking out windows at a moon that no living person has been this close to. And they are doing it inside what is, if we are honest, still a capsule. Bigger than Apollo, smarter, better equipped, better connected, better in almost every measurable way, but still a metal shell with a heat shield on the bottom and a parachute on top. The fundamental engineering problem has not changed since 1968. You need air, water, food, heat management, radiation shielding, and a way to survive landing. 53 years of progress have made each of those systems lighter, faster, and more reliable. They have not made any of them easy. When this crew splashes down in the Pacific, recovery ships will be waiting. Divers will approach. The hatch will open. 4 people will climb out into sunlight, having completed the first crewed mission beyond Earth orbit in more than half a century. When the Apollo astronauts came home, they came home as conquerors. The moon had been the target, and they hit it. When this crew comes home, they come home as pathfinders. The moon is not the destination anymore. It is the first stop. Everything they are testing, the life support, the navigation, the heat shield, the communication, the toilet is being validated for what comes after. Orion has already been evaluated for mission profiles lasting 1,000 days when paired with additional habitat modules. The data this crew collects about how their bodies respond to deep space radiation will directly shape the first Mars mission. Apollo proved we could leave. This mission is figuring out how to stay gone. Right now, for human beings are closer to the moon than anyone has been since December 1972. They are not repeating what Apollo did. They are picking up a thread that was dropped more than 50 years ago and pulling it forward. Tomorrow they fly behind the moon for 40 minutes. No signal will reach them. No voice from Earth. Just 3 other people floating in a capsule 250,000 miles from home. And the same ancient silence the Apollo crews knew. The moon still blocks the signal. The void is still the void. And for those 40 minutes, they will understand something no technology can soften. The irreducible fact of being alone in the dark, farther from home than any road or wire can follow. That silence has not changed. Everything else is new.